Dying night, the shadow of the bleeding night. The sword is losing its light, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to face the dark and fight them back. The moon is turning into evil red, burns the desert into ash, ruin the ark with chaos fire, yeah. Survivors won't pray for luck, belief could be hard as rocks, go against the deepest dark. Calling you above the sky. This war will end with the bravest men. Sent on the regroup for the fight. Now we've come back. I'm wondering who I am. Run through the fire, chasing for the meaning of the end is fighting. Who I am, the hands of flame. Would I be a hero? Would I see my neverland? I'll fight for the dreams that you have. Believe in your friends, you're ready for the fight. You know who I am. Let's fight on time. Illuminate and lead the sky till the dawn brings you back to life. Die at night, the shadow of the lonely night. The sword is losing its light, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to face the dark and fight them back. The sand is turning into evil black, burns the desert into ash, ruin the ark with chaos fire, yeah. Survivors won't pray for luck, belief could be hard as rocks, go against the deepest dark. The sand is calling you above the sky. This war will end with the bravest men. Sent on the regroup for the fight. Now we've come back. I'm wondering who I am. Run through the fire, chasing for the meaning of the end is fighting. Who I am, the hands of flame. Would I be a hero? Would I see my neverland? I'll fight for the dreams that you have. Believe in your friends, get ready for the fight. You know who I am. It's right on time. Illuminate the bleeding sky till the dawn brings you back to life. I've seen my people down with sword in their hands, still standing their ground. No time for sadness, holding my faith, just keep on moving on. As and fires are falling everywhere, crying in the air, shouting out a glorious name. The name of the Savior in history till forever. Your faith is leading your way to the light. We know the real fighters never die. Send on fight them one more time. Now we've come back. You're gonna know who I am. Run through the fire, finding out the meaning of the ruthless fighting. Here I am, the hand of flame. I will be the hero and rebuild my home, my land. I'll fight for the dreams that you have. Believe in your friends, get ready for the fight. You know who I am. It's right on time. Illuminate and lead the sky till the dawn brings you back to life.
What is going on, governors? Chisgul here with the esteemed Dragothian to cast the Ark of Osiris League Grand Finals. This is the first of 3 matches where we're watching, the champions of the champions duke it out. Dragothian, how are you this morning, man?
I'm pretty darn good. I'm well rested and looking forward to this matchup. We had some good ones last week. Chisgul. Some of them were pretty close. I thought the 1V match was a lot closer than a lot of people expected it to be. 60 GT absolutely dominating, though. Looking forward to seeing who wins this heavyweight matchup in the grand finals of Osiris League Playoff Season 5.
Yeah, we've all got our coins where we think the winner is going to be. And by the way, you all currently think that 60GT is a slam dunk choice with the majority of the betting going in their favor. But this is the grand finals. Anything can happen. The playing field has been leveled. Even VIP was leveled this time around. So, I mean, okay, there's even a poll in the chat. Which team is destined for victory? There it is. Who's it going to be? 60GT or OneV? Drop it in there. I personally am the kind of person who likes to play the odds, you know? So I put my coins, personally, on OneV. I'm just saying, if I win, I am going to be, I don't know, I can't remember the name of the coins. I'm going to be a gajillionaire, okay? I'm going to have so many of these coins. It's going to be raining down. I'm going to be swimming in a swimming pool of them. I'm going to have so many. However, 60GT is the former champion, and they're back. So what do you think, Drago? Who do you think is going to win, and how much of a spread do you think we're going to see in this game between the two teams? What's the point differential going to be here?
You know what's funny? The chat literally has it 50-50. It's one or the other. I will also say, me personally, I put my coins on 60GT, and I'm usually with you. I'm usually betting the odds is the way to go. And every other week, that's what I do. Sometimes it bites me in the butt, and sometimes I win a bajillion coins, like you said. But for this matchup, I got to go with the favorite. 60GT is just proven until proven otherwise, they're unbeatable. OneV is one of those teams that could do it. They have the juice. They've got the stuff, right? But 60GT, until it's proven to me otherwise, they're untouchable.
Wow, untouchable, 60GT. Okay, so hey, we have a fair and balanced casting crew here, right? We each put our Oryx on the different teams, but also both teams are very worthy of winning. 60GT, again, the returning champions, and OneV, the rising star from this season, beating out the previous season champion for the Realm of Horus, that was JST, on their way to the finals. Hey, let me say this, Dragothian. Hot take. I got a hot take. I know you represent the younger realms over here. I represent the older realms over here. I'm just saying, I think we got some tougher competition in these older realms. I think OneV's had some better practice over the course of the season with some tougher opponents. What's your reaction to that?
I think that's one of the hottest of takes ever.
Yeah, that's gonna be a
so let's set the right
topic.
Let's set the right precedent. So our OG from Kingdom 16 here, like 1016. All right. So I know what you're talking about when it comes to being an older player. That being said, 960 GT would win, in my opinion, any realm. It doesn't matter what realm they're in. They're just gonna win. So again, I put my coins on 60 GT, even though it's the most terrible of trades when it comes to return on your investment. They just, and I think a lot of people in chat have kind of shouted it out, they're just on another level. And it's nothing against OneV. I think they're a very solid team. And if there is a team that can really challenge 60 GT, I think OneV is in that category of maybe 3 teams that could do it. But again, could and will are 2 different things. And I think that them being in the later realms has actually benefited their team because they've been able to merge the best of both worlds. They're able to merge the early Kingdom 16 players like myself. And in fact, Kingdom 2 players is really what ended up happening here. So the earliest of realms with the newer players that have the newer strategies, that have the updated everything and are kind of winners. So there we go. That's my take.
You bring up some history that I think is actually really important, and you're right to flex that OG muscle right there to point out that we've been playing the game for a long time, you and I. Actually a shockingly long time. And we know the history of some of the players in these kingdoms. So specifically, you referred to the sort of merging that took place of a bunch of players from Kingdom 2 that went to 1960. So there are a bunch of players from older kingdoms, and if I am not mistaken, for the last Osiris League Grand Finals, it was actually possible to migrate to a new realm and then register with that team for the Grand Finals, which is something that I think they have subsequently removed. I'm not
Thank
entirely
goodness.
sure. Maybe this is still something that you can do. But either way, I mention this because for the last grand finals, there were a bunch of people, if I'm not mistaken, from Kingdom 52, which is the kingdom of OV,
Yep.
who also have won their fair share of Osiris League. In
Once
fact,
or twice. Yep.
oh yeah, are they the only one to win twice? Actually,
Yeah.
yeah. So a bunch of those players.
60 GT, did they get it twice? Is this
Oh,
their
60
second
GT
one?
might now. Okay, 60 GT is now twice.
Yeah,
actually.
they got it twice.
So
Yep.
okay, not the only ones anymore.
The most
right. To be
updated,
the returning champion in the grand finals, you had to.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Kind
that.
of had to win.
But still, a whole bunch of those players from OV made their way over to the same kingdom, and they're on this team. So it's like a really stacked team. There's just no way around it, right? So I got a couple questions here, Drago. One I sort of alluded to earlier. Maybe we start there. How close of a game is this going to be? Like, you and I, we do this thing where it's like over or under 5,000 points, right? I'll rep the opposing side. You pick which one you think it's going to be. Do you think it's going to be a less than 5,000 point game or a more than 5,000 point game?
So I tried to dodge it, and you're holding me to the fire. So here's the deal. I think 1V, again, like I said, is one of maybe the 3 teams in the game right now that can really pressure and put some work into 60 GT. That being said, I think that's going to make it a less than 6,000 point game. Okay. And I want to put 6K because we're talking maybe an arc and some structure. That's really kind of where I'm going with it. I think both teams are going to provision appropriately, but not go so crazy with it that it's going to absolutely blow the other one out of the water. But I think it's going to come down to maybe one arc and some structure points, and it could be the second or third arc, honestly, because of their strategies that they're going to be playing against each other. We could be seeing a 2 arc game, maybe. I mean, maybe a 3 arc game.
So you bring up so many good questions, and I mean, look, we can just march our way through the grand finals betting options here, right? And just talk for a moment about who's going to win each thing. And I like your specificity around the 6,000 point differential. Less than 6,000 you're confident in, rather than the 5,000. Because you're right. Like, I think this is going to be a close game. And of all games, this should be one of the closest that you'll possibly find in all of Ark of Osiris League.
And
right?
most intense, yes.
Yeah. These are the best of the best teams from the actual entire game who have emerged victorious thus far, which, I mean, yeah, these should all be really strong players, and I really like watching the gameplay to learn. Specifically, by the way, I want to talk about commander choices, but I don't want to deviate from the path we were on, which is the 4 categories: the arc score leader, the occupation leader, the total kill leader, and the provision score leader. Who is going to win the arc score? I mean, I think you're saying it's 60 GT, right? And I'm kind of repping 1V a little bit here.
I've had, well, damn, man, both of those teams are really good.
They're
open
both
field.
really good at mid game.
They're really good on that middle tier. Oh my goodness.
Now,
I mean, I can't choose. I can't. Don't make me choose.
Chat. What do you think's going on here? Which team it's going to be?
Maybe it's tied.
It could be. It's just awesome. It could be either one. I mean, I know 1V. Their bread and butter is that mid game. I mean, that's what they do, right? Like, there's no denying that's how they got to where they are, is the mid game for Arc. So, like, I mean, if they can't do that, then I think 60 GT is really well positioned. I'm not saying that they can't run a building game in 1V. I just feel like their game plan to this point has been going for those arcs. Now, when it comes to the occupation score, do you think either of these teams is going to run like a building strategy? Like, actually say, you know what, you take those arcs. We're going to just pull down like 10,000 more points than you on occupation.
I don't know if they'll necessarily go into it thinking, okay, I'm going to go for the structure game in spite of going for the arc. I think they're going to go after both. But I think they will have a priority. I think both teams, and that's why both of these teams are in the position they're in. They're not just a structure team. They're not just a mid team. They're not just an arc team. they're a master of everything. There is no jack of all trades here. This is a master of everything kind of gig. So I think that it's a matter of who executes better. I think it's a matter also of how many arcs are going to be inside of this match. If it's going to be 2 or 3 arcs, I think that 1V really has a chance to win. I think that if it becomes a 4-arc game, 60GT messed up somewhere. So, in my opinion, if it's a 2 or 3 arc game, it's an even matchup with a 60GT favorite. If it goes over 3 arcs, I think that 1V starts to really take the opportunity to maybe, because of the strength of their mid game, take that extra step and maybe win by 2,000 or 3,000 points with that extra arc at the end of the game.
It's so interesting because many people have good open field commanders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you could make the argument that perhaps a part of the reason that the 1V team had done so well outside of the grand finals, right, is they just have such a strong mid game because they've invested in those right commanders to go and do that, right? And so many people have those sorts of commanders that it's easier to do. On the flip side of things, now, because there's no equipment in this game mode for the grand finals, and because everyone has access to literally every single commander in the game, could it be that a building strategy is actually way more viable than it normally might be? Because you have, everybody could have Jadwiga down the field with YSS secondary or whatever you think the meta is. Like, everybody can have it. You're not filling with, like, filler marches like you might normally see. I mean, actually, they are. And we could talk about that a little bit, right? But like your filler marches for a garrison can actually be a captain that can just swap in whenever you want. Does that make the building game more viable?
I think it's a valid question. I also think that, do you think, I guess the response to your question is another question. Do you think that 60GT or 1V are in any position to be lacking a commander that they want? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
all season I would say they were not lacking for whatever they needed.
So if that's the case, if the answer to the question is no, then the availability of all the commanders, while it may be kind of nice to give everybody a Jadwiga possibility, to me that just means that we're going to see more disciplined forward advancing structure game. So whenever you take, if you take an opponent's forward structure, so if you're on the red team on the bottom and you take the blue team's Desert Altar on the top lane, I expect there to be a Jadwiga in there, and I expect there to be Cav right behind it with double C led
I don't
primary,
know, Drago.
Takeda primary, etc. Okay, that's what I expect. That's if they're operating on full cylinders. Now here's the other question I've got for you: over under number on how many Hondas we see in the middle. That's my question.
Every player's bringing Honda. No question asked.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
So we're going to see 60
Honda Tadakatsu, it just shook the meta for Ark of Osiris League. Yeah. And the way that I've sort of had it explained to me is that it's like, hey, you got march speed, you got troop capacity, you have area of effect damage, and for us mere mortals that actually can't max every single commander, the ability to pair him with so many different commanders because he doesn't care about a troop type is actually astonishing. Even with his reduced damage dealt when he is the secondary commander. Oh, by the way, he also does damage over time. Oh, by the way, he also does a 50% slow. I mean, he does like everything someone in Ark of Osiris League wants. In fact, he even has a buffer of damage reduction for a short window, reducing the normal attack damage taken. Now, you brought up an interesting point earlier, which is, well, they're not wanting for any commander, but they might actually be wanting for equipment. And by that, I mean, even if they had every commander, you don't normally have the opportunity to fill with a garrison captain that's never going to be made captain because you need that equipment somewhere else. So actually, I'll double down on that point a little bit as we explore it more. And as I realize, like, actually, there still is that weird dynamic of they may not have been wanting for commanders to have backup Jads. And maybe that's the whole story. They had their backup Jads in there, right? Their backup Xenos. I think you're right on that.
Yeah. I don't think there was ever a point where they're like, man, we just don't know what we're going to do because we don't have X person with X commander. But I think to your point, I think it's going to be easier for them because everybody has access to all of the commanders. So there may be a position where somebody's in a better spot to go ahead and just use their Jadwiga instead of, waiting for the guy to use their Jadwiga,
And having been that person who swaps in as the garrison
it's
captain,
tough
man,
sometimes.
it's a gear commitment to put it on your garrison instead of using it for a mid fight.
Right.
But
that's right.
Drago, it's time to jump in the match, man. You
Let's
ready?
go. I'm ready. I can't be
Let's
more
do
ready.
this. Here we go. All right, everybody, we're entering into the Ark of Osiris League Grand Finals. First match of 1V in blue against 60 GT. You're looking at Kingdom 1034 now. Combatants on the screen. And the red team, 60 GT, hailing from Kingdom 1960. This is going to be an amazing match with some amazing players. And speaking of which, the key combatants now on the screen. By the way, for the people who led in specific categories such as provisioning, I think field kills and so on, they got a special little picture they could use in their profile, which was kind of cool. A lot of folks don't know that. The occupation score on the screen, actually, this is going to be a contentious match here against two teams, as you'll see, that have a track record of winning pretty much every game they play. Must be nice, actually, to win every time you queue up. But it's not a coincidence these teams spend an unbelievable amount of time practicing, fully leveraging the in-game practice match function with 50% expansions and more to make that a reality. So here we are, 30 seconds until this opens. Drago, I expect to see every rallyable structure getting rallied. That's all three outposts on each side and the obelisks from each side. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it's a proper expectation, I believe. I mean, the top-tier teams have really incorporated these outposts, and understandably so. You add all three of those point totals up per minute. It's 90 points per minute. That's the second strongest building in the game if you put all three of those together, point generation total wise. And that's why we're starting to see some of these bigger teams really start to take away the structure game from the pretty good, used to be really, really, really strong opponents. We got just a few seconds as we start to get this match underway. I expect to see all of that and then some.
Yeah, here they go. Out onto the field. Fast March is moving. T1 on their way to go take structures at the very start. T1 seem to be a part of the game plan of every single team, and that is largely because they are so much faster, unburdened by all that heavy armor. They actually move pretty quickly, and time is really the name of the game here. Managing where you are and when is the key, and if we get a look at these rallies really quickly...
14, baby.
It looks like it's as we predicted, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
7 on
there
each
they
side.
are. Every single structure rallied at this moment in time. Now, do you think they've actually set rallies with the intention of capturing the opposing side outposts, or are those just transports?
Oh, yeah. No, they're definitely looking to capture the building. I mean, sending a transport rally with 1.5 marches just doesn't make sense to me. What are you transporting to is the other question. Is it just to harass the back line, get some provisioners going? That's possible, I guess. But I think in all reality, they're looking to capture these outposts and then take those marches and go harass some provisioners. So it's probably a little bit of both, but obviously in hopes, all rallies in the hopes of looking to get that structure in their own color versus their opponents.
First obelisk, captured by Sleepy Owl, dropping an emoji on screen, Herald with the flower for style. I'll give them the style points for that, although that won't be reflected on the scoreboard. Now they're working their way downfield. So what do you think of this choice? By the way, you can see that long pole arm over here is actually the hallmark of a Honda Tadakatsu secondary. Yeah, I'm looking out for you, Drago. You said how many we're going to see. I'm looking, baby. We see them on the field already.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's the 20% march speed and the troop capacity, right? Like, why wouldn't you use that when you're going to run these troops downfield, apparently, and they're gonna just drop a little tap onto the obelisk here? I guess they'd rather send them forward and see what they can do. It's almost like there's so many things that you check just to see if the enemy's awake and paying attention, right?
Yeah. You know something, speaking of things to check, Chisco, so 60 GT forgot to check the timer on hard push. So if you look at the top obelisk, it's still got 2 minutes left until it captures. That's a full minute longer than it should be. As you look at the bottom one,
yeah,
you only have 1 minute and 20 seconds. So they hit hard push a little behind when that first obelisk was captured. that's going to put them a little bit at the disadvantage where we're looking at the top for 1V. It's got 1 minute and 10 seconds until it is able to be teleported into, and only 45 seconds for the obelisk closest to them on the bottom lane. So, I mean, they're in a little bit of trouble here. They were in front of 1V from a timing standpoint, but still with a minute and a half on the obelisk that's closest to 60 GT, they've eliminated that advantage, and now 1V has the advantage from a teleporting standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, 400 Tarakatsu's leading the charge downfield for 1V right now, and you're right that it's surprising, actually, to see 60 GT leaking some points here at the start, but I do think it's recoverable, unless there is immense pressure from 1V on the obelisk, which I don't think there will be, and that 1 minute makes the difference. I think that'll be a point differential that they've forfeit for no upside, and I guess we'll see if that ends up being the difference maker, Drago. 1 minute worth of points on the obelisk. If the game is that close, oh, man. At least it's 2 out of 3, right?
I really don't. The points, I totally get what you're saying. If we go to 20, if we use 20 points, there's the difference that, the 5K, 6K, who cares, right? No, but I really think the problem is that is going to cascade some more points than just 20 points, because they should have already poured it in 40 seconds ago.
Yeah,
but instead, they're waiting for
teleports.
20 more seconds than we are right now. And they're behind. They don't have the reinforcements going to the Desert Altar on the top lane. They're still waiting for more marches to come in from their base instead of from their teleport point. They're going to probably lose this Desert Altar on the top lane. Well, when I say lose, they're not going to take 1V's Desert Altar on the top lane, almost guaranteed, because they just don't have the people there because they couldn't teleport in fast enough.
Yeah, I see this fight sort of unfolding, and we're watching a classic 1V maneuver unfold on the screen. First of all, they always seem to find the way to make a great pocket between where the enemy marches are and their own altar. They're actually very incredible at getting there and keeping the enemy at bay from the Desert Altar. We see that time and time again. And then also on the Southern Desert Altar, 1V has gone for a peel-off move heading to the Shrine of Life instead of actually pressuring the altar as much as they could. But there is still a shocking amount of pressure on that Desert Altar, which has now unlocked. And 60GT says, thank you very much. I'll take that. And I'll take yours, by the way. So even though they had all that space up here.
Should not have done that.
Yeah, somehow 60GT casually strolls up. And this is way more problematic than it would be in a normal Arc of Osiris League match. Because again, anybody can be the garrison captain here. So anybody who brought a Jadwiga downfield can just hop in there and be the captain. But it doesn't matter. 1V has got that under control, although they still don't have their own Shrine of Life as they take the opposing side Shrine of Life. So there is actually a fair amount of symmetry in this matchup, weirdly enough. In fact, there is perfect.
Almost identical.
Yeah, almost perfect symmetry. A fair amount of disruption going on in the backfield for both sides, for those outposts. Too many places to look at once to see how those rallies panned out on the structures, but it does look like some amount of disruption was caused there, as we see some good fighting, actually. Skill at this Desert Altar, 1 minute remaining. And I don't know if it's going to hold.
It could go 1V's way. And again, that's the difference between being able to teleport in 1 minute earlier and not. These are guaranteeing you from the teleport spot on the bottom lane, top side. Conversely, again, we're talking about the 1V's Desert Altar on the top lane. There's nobody there from 60GT because there was nobody to teleport in the first place. I think that was a huge blunder. 60GT could have a massive advantage right now, but instead has given it away because of an extra 5 seconds that they tried to wait on that hard push. So looking to see if they can come back. Right now they're in the lead by about 110 points at the moment. Points per minute wise, though, 1V is the one in the lead by 80 points per minute, and a lot of that has to do with now having an extra Shrine of Life. They've taken their own, and they still hold 60 GTs on the bottom lane.
Yeah, so I think for the most part, we would call this a fairly even-ish opener. Like no one side is really dominated here, right?
No, I would definitely say no side has dominated yet. We're about to see which one's going to, though. 5 minutes left until this arc spawns. I'd imagine both teams are going to start going to the middle. Again, I just think 60GT gave a little bit away at the beginning. I'm interested to see if they're able to really kind of nullify that and overcome it, because that's not something that's huge, but again, it's something worth mentioning.
Drago, do mine eyes deceive me? I'm looking at... Oh, it's Attila Nevsky!
Yes.
Okay. Okay, wait. Now, I thought I was going to see Attila Takeda, but we got a Nevsky secondary here. I actually made a video about this just yesterday.
Yeah.
Because this combo has become the hotness for its unswarmability. And actually, that's exactly what you need in Ark of Osiris League. You rally something, and people don't care about their wounded troops because they're just going to get them back at the end. No cost to it. But using this rally, which is unswarmable, like you actually cannot swarm this. Like try and swarm it, you're gonna not even put a scratch into it and get sent home. That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, it's for non-arc purposes. It's usually best used as a secondary, in a double rally situation. You generally don't want it to be a primary, but in arc, it's actually perfect. Like you said, it's not going to get swarmed down, and if it does, you're going to kill everything around you that is supposed to be stopping any type of other swarmers coming in to help take the structure. So, like, if that's what ends up happening, that's good for you because you're going to have your own swarmers left over where all the defenders are going to be gone, and it's still going to do a decent amount of damage to the structure itself, and enough, I would say, to where if they don't do something about it, whether it's a counter rally or swarm it, that's going to be a problem. And as you can see right now, this Desert Altar has a very high likelihood of going down.
It's flipping.
I mean, it's going to go.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there for them. There
Purely
it goes.
off the back of that
Yep.
Attila Nevsky combo and good reinforcements, in fairness. And you know what I find interesting here? 60 GT came first to the middle. So not only are they in the middle first, I think, but they also now possess the Desert Altar that should belong to 1V. This is definitely, I think, starting to unfold in favor of 60 GT, but here's the thing. We got to see how this Ark Brawl goes before we can really say what's going on here.
Everybody is looking for.
This is the thing that people have been waiting like 6 months to see. Who actually has the better Ark Brawl? And I'm telling you, everybody's going for this right now. Both teams. I mean, unless we're going to make the argument that 60 GT is going for a building game, which I don't think we will. Yeah. It doesn't look like it. I mean, I don't see any.
I mean, they've got 3 altars. It's not the worst.
Well, they have 3 altars, but that was like one player. By the way, I recognize that player from Kingdom 2, Ende, formerly in Kingdom 2, right? Making those moves on the Desert Altar with a rally. Like,
you know what? Hold on. What do we got here? On the bottom lane, we got 2 rallies going side by side. One broke for reinforcement. Okay. Nicely done. There's an likely XY Nevsky rally on the Sky Altar bottom lane against the Jadwiga. I gotta say the Attila Nevsky was actually doing better than the XY Nevsky.
I find that surprising, but also I wonder if the
it's going
zero
quicker,
equipment thing is actually like really
I think
beneficial.
That definitely helps Attila. I think that really helps Attila.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, we got some positioning on the top. They're going to take that altar, by the way. So that altar is going to go in favor of 60 GT. They're going to have 4 altars right before this mid-fight starts.
Oh, wow. What I think we're seeing, though, keep me honest, is a commitment from 1V to bring all those players to mid.
Yeah, well, clearly. I mean, there's nobody there to defend their altars. I mean, they got to be somewhere, right?
But the thing is that 60 GT seems to be here first. 1V is backed up a little bit. Now the action unfolding on your screen. War drums and mystical formation for both sides. A conventional set of skills being activated. And now a bunch of people from 1V still scrambling to get into this fight as it unfolds. The full 60 GT crew, for the most part, whoever's here is already here. Oh boy, this is it, man. Which team will reign supreme in the mid-fight? Getting a peek at what commanders are here. A lot of Ethelfled primaries. So for those who are wondering, is Ethelfled an endgame viable commander? The answer is...
Sure enough.
Sure enough. Yes, indeed. A little bit of Guan CJ on the screen. Interesting to see him all of a sudden making a lot of play in this big tussle in the middle. A lot of Nevsky. A lot of XY Hondas on the screen.
You know, this is probably the most even I've seen both of these teams have a fight in the middle. Like, usually it's all one side going home with sad faces whenever these guys go to the middle. But both teams are basically shedding players at about the same rate. You see both teams kind of losing 2 or 3 at a time. Here goes 2 or 3 at a time. There goes 1 at a time. There goes 1 at a time. I think 60 GT is shedding just a little bit more than 1V is. I'm starting to see a little bit of a 1V color dominance.
Good move here, though, with this arc grab. Really crucial carry for 1V. It doesn't look like much, but look how much closer it is for 1V to get to this point, right? Every foot you move away from the center is a foot further the enemy also has to walk, and 1V is picking up the arc again, and I think abandoning the buildings seems to have worked out for 1V, the winner of the first Ark of Osiris League Grand Finals tussle in the center.
How was that?
I mean, there it is. Now, controlling this arc is not just about the points.
It's about
but
the control.
1V emerging victorious from this particular battle means they also control when the next arc will spawn. This is a big deal.
It really is, and I was about to say that before the fight got started. I was so distracted by all the altars. It's not necessarily just about the 3,000 points. Yes, 3,000 points is a very nice thing to have in your pocket, but it's about dictating how the rest of the match starts. I mean, you're basically resetting the match to your favor, however you want it to be. Now, they did lose quite a bit of points, considerable amount of points. In fact, they were up by 700, or was 1V. Now they're down by 700. So that was a 1,400 point swing to get that arc. Now, assuming they get it, then it's a positive 1,600 point advantage. But again, having that ability to understand how the rest of the match is going to go, I think is going to be beneficial for them. And again, getting a 1,600 point swing, they got their altars back just now. Everything's ready to rock and roll. It's
this
symmetrical, like you were saying.
This favors 1V heavily because those structures were not held nearly long enough by 60 GT to offset the loss of that arc. Right? Like, I mean, you see it on the scoreboard. Yeah. It's a 1,000 point game, but not even. It's like a 900 point game.
Yeah, 800 even.
Okay, no, it keeps changing, but it's close enough that the arc is going to put this in favor of 1V, and the board is even.
Yeah.
Oh, Drago, am I going to make a bunch of Oryx today, buddy?
It's very possible. I mean,
I'm going to be an Auricillionaire.
Let's not get too excited about the first arc.
Okay, it's just the first arc. Take it easy.
If we're comparing it to real life, this is the equivalent of the 3-week dating anniversary. Okay, let's wait until the first wedding anniversary before we start to get excited. We're looking at all these buildings here again. 1V now on the offensive, bringing all of their players from the middle to these altar and shrines on the outside lanes. Altar under heavy assault from 60 GT on the bottom lane, but looks to be held fairly well. I think everybody's really just starting to reset. Now it is a 972 point game in favor of 60 GT. But like you said, 1V does have that 3,000 points in their back pocket. It's going to be about a 2,000 point match right now with dictation on how the match proceeds by 1V.
You know what I find so interesting is like every time you expect things to be a certain way, they show up a different way. Like historically I don't know if historically is the right word, but for the most part, we've seen a lot of Guan Alex in this game mode rather than Guan Leo. And now, for whatever reason, 1V is using a ton of Guan and Leo. I don't know if they're just looking for that like extra staying power in the mid fight at the cost of the march speed, or if they're actually like pulling, like an whoa. Okay, sorry. Wait, what? Okay, trick play unfolding on your screen, and we caught it in action. 5 rallies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rallies. Drago, 5 of them going downfield. Where are these going, bro? What's going on here?
It's for the desert altar. So
they are making moves.
They're
5 rallies.
Yep.
Never in the history of Ark of Osiris League have I ever personally observed this play that you're seeing unfold right now.
I mean, as effectively, I've definitely seen this happen, but not quite to this scale and not quite this well executed. We've got the rally coming into the desert altar. All other 4 of these are meant to break for reinforcement and swarm, killing all the open field around it. Let's see how it plays out.
There they go, breaking the rallies. They were transport rallies to support this assault on the desert altar, leveraging the extra march speed from Alliance technology. A solid choice, moving downfield faster, and now let's see if it pans out and all that burden of coordination pays off to have gotten everybody in the rally. Here we go.
It wasn't a Tilinevsky rally as well, by the way, so this is good.
Yeah, nobody's swarming that. That's for sure. And I mean, why would you when you've got all these open field marches to deal with? I don't know.
I mean, that Jadwiga is holding up pretty strong from 1V. It is in the red right now, which is definitely better than, or not as good as the rally that's hitting it. However, I mean, it's getting heavy swarmed and still holding up. Back in the yellow is the Jadwiga garrison. They're doing well, but you start to see some of these marches from 1V starting to go back with sad faces. A lot more for them than it is for 60 GT, but I do expect 1V to continue to start killing these swarming marches around the structure. Rally's looking good, though. Rally's looking really, really strong. This could be enough to get this structure in the red color. Speaking of structures in the red color, by the way, though, Sky Altar in the bottom lane taken by 60 GT in all that hubbub, and does have a Xeno garrison, although it looks like it will eventually go back down to 1V here very shortly. In fact, maybe 5 seconds or 1 second. There you go. It is back blue.
Okay, so a lot of structures changing hands here. I mean, I think 60 GT knows that they can't lose the arc and not be aggressive on these structures right now. And I think they've done a really good job of, in the very least, being disruptive.
Yep.
But in a best case, starting to close the gap here between the amount of points that 1V is about to score with this arc that they have in their pocket and how many points they have here. So I think this is playing out really well. I mean, about as well as you can expect in an Arc of Osiris League Grand Finals, right? Like 60 GT is occasionally flipping buildings and occasionally holding them for long enough to score points. You really can't ask for better against teams of this caliber, can you?
Oh no, not even close. This is like we knew this was going to be a back and forth. And one team wins one thing, the other team knows. We can't just let them win that one thing. We got to go find some points. We got to go find some transactional points here that we can get right now to go ahead and offset what we just lost, or vice versa. So 60 GT doing exactly, what they should be doing, and that's not only taking structures for their opponent, but with that 5 rally play that they just did, they're securing it and they're looking to hold this for a while. 30 seconds until the Desert Altar flips for generating points for 60 GT, which is exactly what they need. Their Sky Altar is under duress by 1V in the same kind of flavor, but it looks like they will hold that with little to no issue there. Plenty of 60 GT there to defend that structure. And
wait a minute.
I mean, we go back and forth. It could go either way.
Attila Garrison?
Maybe it's a Tilinevsky. Why not?
They didn't change the captain.
Why not?
I guess why not? There's got to be some of those skills that work only in the field, right?
Oh yeah. Attila especially. There's not many that don't work in the garrison.
Yeah, that probably didn't go the way they were hoping.
I think if 60 GT wants to keep this, though, I mean, the Jadwiga's gone. Maybe. Do you think it popped? Do you think the Jadwiga garrison popped and now we're looking at...
I don't know. Either it was an oversight or they just didn't have one downfield. But I mean, maybe I couldn't have paid attention to the details, but is it conceivable that one or more filler or captain garrisons was in those transport rallies? The rallies broke, and then 1V hunted down all the Jads first.
Yeah, that's very
Could that
possible.
be what happened?
That's very possible. And
I mean, this is why you really need it in your main rally.
Yeah.
That way it's guaranteed to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that's what they had done.
Me too.
They should definitely have held that for longer than they did, especially considering the manpower they committed to it. That's 5 rallies total, including the actual rally. You're looking at, what, 20, 25, 23 maybe? 20 to 23 marches committed to that play.
CJ is such an interesting choice. I actually like him in Arc of Osiris, now that I see him here, a lot more than I would have expected. That's in part because people are going to run their marches into the ground. So CJ does extra damage to those weaker marches. Mm-hmm. But also, you may recall, CJ has reactive skill damage. When he takes skill damage, he dishes it back out, which is actually kind of cool in those Arc center tussles where you're taking skill damage like all the time, right?
Yeah, I think on paper he's made for Arc, but in practice, I think the mechanics that you just talked about, the mechanisms for that commander, it's just underwhelming in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
An extra 300 damage factor okay, kind of cool.
It's not that much, is it?
Kind of cool. And then the reactive skill damage, it's 50 per sacrifice stack, and I mean, you end up getting to about 300 or 400 for that too, and it can only proc once every 5 or 8 seconds or something. Like, okay, if we're talking about Honda swiping for 2,500 damage factor for everybody, and Nebu's throwing out all kind, that it's that kind of difference, I guess, is what I was kind of leaning to.
I think in the situation where it's really, really strong, it's pretty good, but it's not like OP, and that's maybe why he's not more popular. Because like that middle brawl where you're actually in combat for a prolonged period, CJ stacks up the extra skill damage and also the extra reactive damage, as you were describing. That's guaranteed to happen in that mid brawl, right? Like that actually is all 100% going to happen. But to your point, for what it is, even in that best case scenario, I suppose it is a little underwhelming compared to other things, as we see 1V take the Shrine of War and then also pressure on the altar. In the match I was casting last week, Drago, we saw a lot of momentum swings where one side would rush out and then they would be weakened.
Kind of peter out.
Right? Yeah. And I think this is just the mechanics of the game mode where because you retreat home to your city very fast, right? And then boom, the team rushes back out and gets a lot of momentum that just got sent home. I feel like we're seeing a little bit of that now. That 60 GT had that immense pressure on the opposing side, and now the counter push here from 1V with all those healthy marches that were out on the field is definitely being felt, and this Sky Altar hanging on by a thread, boom,
there it goes.
Flips over. And even if it's not held for a prolonged period of time, I will say that the disruption in and of itself is a savage blow here, as the arc has been scored. By the way, 6 minutes and 10 seconds until the next arc spawns in. So we missed that a couple minutes ago when that arc was captured. And now 3 altars, possibly 4 altars, all of them?
It's
possibly about to be all of them in the hands of 1V before the middle? Oh my goodness.
Rally's
controlling.
Down. Now both red again.
Oh, man.
I think they're going to hold it. I was going to say about the arc, but you were going hard on all those structures. I didn't want to interrupt you. You were doing well at that, so I didn't want to stop you on that. But
I get a little carried away.
Yeah, hey, no, I'm right there with you. I do the same thing. You don't have to tell me twice. But I look to see the middle starting to get together, and 1V is doing exactly that. Coming to that middle caravan on the top lane is 1V. Same for 60 GT. The second battle of Osiris League Grand Finals is underway. It's beginning right now. Even though they're not touching swords, they're definitely positioning and getting ready to roll. Now, they did take that Desert Altar on the bottom lane eventually from 60 GT. That's 2 high point generating structures not ticking in favor of 60 GT. Points per minute heavily in favor of in 1V's favor. 590 points per minute versus only 180 for 60 GT. So they're going to have to get this middle arc, I think, to really start to keep this game in together, because it's about a 1,500 point match right now in favor of 1V, and it's only going to get worse if they don't take this building.
Drago, this is concerning to me. 60 GT is like, they're all here. I mean, they're not all here, but they're like all on their way. Whereas 1V, I mean, they're coming, but should 60 GT be pushing up? Why are they not? They're just kind of allowing 1V to get away with being a little late here. I don't know. I guess maybe a part of what's happening is that there's just still not enough critical mass here. So if 60 GT had pushed all this distance up and started fighting, all of the reinforcements for 60 GT would have been so late to help, they would have got in trouble, actually. Maybe that's what took place there.
Yeah, no, we're really looking at round 2 here. Everything's starting to even up, although again, it was really good for 1V to have that 400 point per minute advantage at least for 2 or 3 minutes, so that's good. But it's starting to even out. The Shrine of Wars for both sides are where they should be. 1V is not heavily investing in getting this Desert Altar on the bottom lane. Shrine of Life looks to be under a little bit of duress, but enough coming from Pearl and Kenny, hopefully, for 60 GT to maintain the garrison advantage and keep that Chandra rally from doing enough damage to take that building. It looks like they'll be just fine. And then, however, on the top lane, we've got another Attila Nevsky, but it's getting swarmed down by 1V eventually. But it's still
we want to watch
rough.
that.
It could be, it could go either way.
You know, the rally must not be very full. to be dropping so fast to that swarm.
Mhm.
That's got to be like a 2-march rally or 3-march rally, you know? Like a very small number of people in there. Because I swear to you, you can't swarm that rally, man. It hurts too much. But here you can see they're having no problem with that, and I just wonder if that has to do with the quantity of troops in there. They are backing off. Actually, in hindsight, I'm surprised they didn't back off of that sooner to let that just sit there for longer. They're going to run those troops forward, and it looks like try to put a little pressure on the Shrine of War.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the middle's where it's going to be at going forward here. It is a 2,000-point game in favor of 1V. Points per minute total knotted at 590. So everybody is equal from a points per minute standpoint. Buildings are all the same. This next match is going to dictate who's going to be up by 1,500 points and control probably the remainder of the game. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Do you think they use to the death here? I think they do. If they're going to make it a 2-arc game.
It's a critical arc.
Yeah. Do you think 60 GT has to use to the death?
I think they both will use either to the death or Heaven's Grace.
You think they're going to match each other or counter each other? Or, you know, not that Heaven's Grace is exactly a counter, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, I
think they're going to mimic each other.
Yeah, okay. They're going to mimic each other.
Yes.
Yeah. And who do you think is going to pull the first move?
I think 60 GT being down by 2,000 will make the first move.
Okay. So the action is on them.
Yep.
To figure out what the play is going to be here. Is it to the death? I mean, you wouldn't just pop Heaven's Grace, I feel. Like, maybe you would. Just,
no.
But like, it's not, for whatever reason, it's like not the skill you just pop. And maybe that's just because to the death is just better. So I guess we would expect here to the death and either War Drums or Mystical or both on both sides.
Do you think there's more 1V here than 60 GT? I feel like there is.
It's not clear to me, although what I will say is that there's really like a track record of 1V abandoning structures in order to get more presence to the middle.
Just don't care. They could
I mean, it makes sense. You lose your structure for a little bit, but you gain the arc. As long as you only lose it for a little bit, like, sure, let's win the mid fight.
All right, Mystical Formation. And using that, by the way, 1V as well, War Drums. So use both of those. That kind of nullifies the possibility of Heaven's Grace. There's to the death by 60 GT.
60 GT is used to the death. There it is.
War Drums as well.
War Drums. I feel like that to the death was early. Look on my screen. There's marches that aren't even committed yet. Heaven's Grace. There it is. The counterplay by 1V. Action was on. 60 GT using to the death. And now this brawl is a huge determining factor in who will win the first of 3 matches in the final.
Arc's up.
The Arc of Osiris League Grand Finals.
Arc is up, Jessica. Let's see who grabs it. I don't see any timers to grab that arc. Everybody is just fight. Oh, there's one. There's
1V with quick hands yet again.
But stationary.
Arc is down.
1V has to get this to maintain their lead. It's a 2,000-point match right now in favor of 1V. Knotted up is the points per minute at 510. So both have lost a Shrine of Life to their name at some point or another, or a shrine of some kind. 1V is looking dominant in the middle.
They
Look
sure
at all
are.
of these 60 GT going home with sad faces. This is a direct counter, again, like you said, with that Heaven's Grace and double normal buff with Mystical Formation and War Drums. Maybe that's the play to really kind of give what you need. That heal is greater than damage in these finals is maybe something to take away for your own
decisive.
Yeah.
Decisive mid-brawl victory for 1V, the second arc, 2 for 2 on grabbing those arcs, playing to the strategy they've played literally all season long. 1V has got to be feeling pretty good here. And also, Drago, let's take a moment to appreciate. Look where they're going. I would say maybe at most 25%, 1/4 of the players from 1V move forward and all the rest move backward. Isn't that interesting? We're used to seeing the opposite, where everybody surges forward to do something. But no, they're going back, not forward. I think that's a big insight there into what they think the meta should be for where you go after you get an arc. Very interesting here to see the way that they're playing that. And of course, that aggression that you would expect to see is going toward the altar, and the marches that are going are all really low health, which I find so interesting. So the low health marches surging forward to some of these structures, even splitting off to the two sides here to just, I guess, reset forward instead of reset backward. Very interesting.
You know, I was doing something else while you were talking about the way that this looks, and I agree. That's definitely something to take away. Where they're going versus where usually people are going after the arc is captured or at least contained. I was looking at the marches. So almost every single march for 1V had 40% or less health. Most of them had 10% or less. So 60 GT just not quite doing enough damage to really start to put the hurt on 1V's murder ball, and really showing when it comes to looking at these marches coming back, they're either red or in between red and yellow on their bar. And that to me says that 1V is putting in just enough from a damage standpoint to get 60 GT's heavy damage dealers out of there and giving them enough to win what looks like a massive victory, but in reality,
it's a lot closer.
Probably only a 10 or 15% difference, right?
Yeah. That's 100% right. I completely agree. Although the marches remaining were all obviously from 1V, and it
again,
looks
a W is a W.
decisive. Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably is a lot closer than perhaps I was representing there for what it would take to swing the fight one way or another.
I think 5 or 10 marches could even do it, of the proper marches.
Yeah.
They just need more people. And I think the combination of To the Death and Heaven's Grace is the play there from 60 GT. That should be the play. Going full damage, to me, when somebody else is using Heaven's Grace, which you don't know what they're going to do, right? But you have to kind of assume that's coming. To me, that would have been the play. Heaven's Grace and To the Death. And I think that, you know, that's hard to do because that's all your points, right? It's all your points. You got to save up for it. But
all 4 altars are in the hands of 60 GT.
I mean,
by the way,
they need to be.
They do need to be.
They need to be.
But they actually are, which I find
are
fairly miraculous.
I mean, they came back, like you said, right? They came back to the defending side. What happened?
Honestly, I don't know. I think a part of what goes on here, let me try to work it out. So let's figure this out, Drago. What happens is 60 GT lost the mid-fight. And as we were saying, it looks decisive, but really, there's a bunch of marches that are all low health.
Right.
So if every single 60 GT march goes home, they can then emerge full health, right? Mm-hmm. And so what you have is a whole bunch of really weak marches on the part of 1V, stuck on the field, unable to get done nearly as much, and you see that momentum swing that we're observing now, where you really can't get much done with a march at 20% health, you know?
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. And, you know, maybe that is a part of what I was talking about. I think, you know, you made a good point that it was enough to do what needed to be done. But now I think 1V really needs to get these things under control because, you know, that Shrine of War even on the bottom lane is still under some duress. You've got a Rally and Swarm on it. 1V's pushing instead, going towards this Desert Altar for 60 GT, trying to flip the script a little bit. Rally on the way from 1V as well. And in fact, it looks like is that a Chandra Rally? It is a Chandra Rally. Chandra Nevsky is the play here for 1V. But all 4 altars are under 60 GT, 890 points per minute. Now down to 740. They just lost 2. I'm sorry. So now they're down to 590 points per minute. I mean, 1V taking them back when they need to.
Yeah, that's the real key, right? The momentum swing, I think, from that fight we can expect based off of the marches having to reset. And, you know, you have a literal full field of 1V marches all nearly gone. And then a full field of full health 60 GT marches. I mean, you would expect the momentum swing. The question is, could they hold it? And it looks like 1V has done a good job of sort of holding back that incredible momentum swing because they now have, eat my words there, 2 of the altars in the top lane, but now it's still 3 for 60 GT.
Yeah, 60 GT just not quite enough to hold at least the third one. I mean, the third one, if they could hold the third one, which they're not going to be able to, there's just way too many 1V on that Sky Altar on the bottom lane. if they could just hold that third one and really keep that 300 point per minute advantage for 4 or 5 minutes, that could be the difference between really making this a 1 arc game. Because there's still going to be one more arc coming, guys. It's going to be 8 minutes and 44 seconds unless they reset it. I gotta check my words a little bit. Unless it gets reset, this should be another arc coming. So
That's true.
you got 11 minutes left until the match is over, with 8.5 minutes until the arc despawns. That's a 3,500 point arc, which means that 1V will have to defend it one more time against 60 GT, assuming 60 GT does not make the blunder of resetting this arc by trying to take it themselves. So we'll see.
There's not going to be a lot of time to score that last arc.
It's going to be very close.
I mean, if we just look at the board here, right? 8 minutes remaining on the arc. So even if they scored it at the actual last second, we're looking at 10 minutes 30 for the remainder of the game. And it's what is it? 8:30? 8 minutes?
8 minutes.
After you cap it. So that would leave
2.5 minutes.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes to score an arc. That is doable. That is actually doable. Like that is a distance you can walk in that amount of time. But if you're being harassed and you lose the arc once, I think you're at that point, your arc carrier can't fall. Certainly can't fall twice. If they fall once and somebody else immediately picks it up, maybe you could run that torch to score. It's
going to be close.
I'm thinking like of the the person who carries the torch for the Olympics at the start, right? They get this incredible burden.
Screw 6,000 point game. How about a 600 point game? Right now, we've got not even that. Now it's a 500 point game in favor of 1V. But again, 3,500 points just sitting in the pocket of 1V, ready to be captured. So we're looking at about a 4,000 point match right now. And really the only way, in my opinion, to get that back is to really go after this arc. Now, if they go after the structures now and say, screw the arc, I think they could make a big pull. There's enough time points per minute wise to really make a big difference. But again, right now 1V has one of the 60 GT structures and is now advancing into their teleport area on the top lane. So I'm not sure if that's going to actually be the way it works out. But if you do change your plan right now and really go heavy on structures, which they could be doing, both 1V altars are under heavy assault. And it looks like maybe they'll keep their altar on the top lane, will 60 GT. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. This is going to be an interesting way to look at what you do if you see yourself down by about 4,000 points with 15 minutes, 16 minutes to go. What do you do?
This is tough. I'm a big advocate for playing to win rather than like playing to not lose, right? So you have to take big risks, even if it means that you're probably not even gonna succeed. But in the off chance that you do, you actually could win the game. You know what I mean? But I don't even know what those plays would be. And at this point, look, this whole map's blue, man. This is absolutely not unfolding the way that 60 GT needs.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it will go back 60 GT's color very quickly. But again, 1V did what they needed to. Stop generating points for a little bit. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that's great. That's great for 1V. That's exactly what they want. They've got 3,500 points in the bank. They have a 500-point lead right now. Now it's actually 900 points because of the changes. So, that's exactly what they want. And 60 GT needs to hold their structures, and they need to start advancing on their opponent's structures, which it looks like this is what they're doing, but they need to hold their structures at the same time, which they have not been able to do. Shrine of Life on the bottom lane is blue and has been blue for quite some time. It's been about a minute, and it looks like it will capture in favor of 1V, so that'll be 80 points helping out the 1V cause that 60 GT could desperately use to get this point total back in line with what they want to have towards the end of this match. 15 minutes left to go, Chisco. This is going to be tight.
It is. All 4 altars now in the hands of 60 GT. Like, that's what they need to do, but it just kind of feels like we're just observing like the waves from the ocean, a sort of momentum swing and inevitability where one wave comes in and that's 60 GT crashing back after the sort of arc brawl unfolded. And then the next wave comes in and that's from 1V, and they sort of clean up after the opposing marches get reset from 60 GT, because now they're all the weak marches. We'll see. if this is something that 60GT can maintain. And if they can, then this is actually going to be a close game. Like this is the thing they have to do. Can they hold? And I don't know.
Yeah, what's the answer to that question? We're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait 14 minutes to see.
We actually didn't have to wait 14 minutes even. They're flipped over right over here.
Well, who's gonna win? I guess is what we're gonna have to wait for.
True.
And is that the critical moment that dictates who is going to win? Is the next thing. So Desert Altar down.
Man, do you think that 1V sacrificed heavily on provisioning in a way that 60GT didn't, and that this match is a lot closer than it looks?
You read my mind. I was looking around at some of the provisioning nodes, and I do see quite a bit more provisioning happening on the 60GT side, but I don't know if it's enough to say that that's what's going to be swinging the tide. I do see, 1V provisioning. It's not like they're not. Maybe an extra 4 marches or so provisioning for 60GT. But again, I mean, I don't think that's what's going to necessarily make the big swing. I think that this match is so close. You got 1,000 points right now with another 3,500 in the pocket. 2 minutes and 40 seconds until this arc despawns. They captured it now. Chisco. That gives plenty of time.
I wonder what drove that decision.
Maybe
I bet you it has to do with the momentum, perhaps. I don't know. Why would you capture now?
I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a bait. Like, hey, you guys can go after this arc if you want to. Like, it's right here. Just come and get it.
Oh, do you think it's a bait?
We've only beat you twice. It's fine.
Oh. I mean, they still have to the death. Drago. They still have to the death, man.
They do.
You should. I mean, okay, let's talk about this for a second. If you have to the death, and all other things are equal, you should win that arc fight, right? Like big time.
It's already happened twice.
I mean, even if the opposing team uses not mystical formation, Heaven's Grace.
You have to think. We just
you
saw
should
that,
win
right?
that encounter, right?
The one who uses Heaven's Grace should win. We just saw it.
You think so? I don't know.
1V did mystical formation, war drums, and Heaven's Grace, and beat out mystical formation, war drums, and to the death.
I honestly think that 1V might just low-key be flexing here. And I think they're going to go for the third one, and I think they're going to show you how to win the arc with to the death. I think that's what they're doing.
Okay, well, let's see. I mean, there's nobody going to the middle right now.
Theoretically, 60GT should want to get this arc. So they're going to go for it, right?
Oh,
they're definitely going to go for the arc. They can't lose the arc, right? If they lose this arc, they're definitely gone.
Yeah, they can't let the opponent get it.
So they got to go for the arc.
And maybe that's why they did it a little earlier. Not only do they have to go, but they have to go just to prevent 1V from capturing it again.
Yeah.
Like
they can't play building game. They can't. They have because 1V is ahead. They have to go mid to get this arc. And so we get to see that little question I posed answered. I think almost certainly, right? Like, does mystical formation and Heaven's Grace actually defeat the to the death or not? And we'll see now if it's actually something else that's going on. And my hunch, to be honest, is that there's something else going on here, and it's the way that those marches are being used in the mid fight that gives 1V this edge that nobody else, I mean, except the people on that team, seem to be able to replicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think 1V is doing anything special over 60 GT's not doing. I think they're all bringing the same troops. I think they're all bringing the same combos. I think they're all using the same builds. I just think 1V brings more. And
that's fair.
And they're using the right. They're out. I don't know if they're out thinking is the right word, but they're out skilling their opponents. The skills that 1V are using are counters to what 60 GT has used.
Okay, so you think they're using counters?
Well, I mean, for the second one, I think especially that's what kind of won them that middle fight. The first one, I think they just overwhelmed them. They had more marches there than did 60 GT, and that showed.
Well,
because they both use the same skills.
Weirdly, we have 5 minutes. Not even. I mean, last time 60 GT was at the arc already. Like, they were all here.
Yes.
At this time, nobody's here. Drago, what's going on? Why is nobody here?
1V
Why is nobody here?
1V has 3 altars right now. I mean, what? I mean, I see 1V starting to come in, hard push being used, and that's very close.
Hard push. I mean, if that's not commitment to the building game, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I mean, how many points are they generating here? They're in the lead, but 1V
only a 2,300 point game
just
right now,
used hard push. How many ability points do they generate? I just wonder, like,
3,000.
were they at 10 out of 10? And they were like, oh, better use something. And they figure they got enough points for the mid brawl. Those 2 points will regenerate by the time they need them.
Because they only used 8 in the middle. So last time, and it's been a while. So
yeah,
I mean, it's very possible they just needed to use those points, and I think it's to their benefit, obviously. But I mean, they also have three altars right now, and they had 3 altars before, but they were different altars. So I mean, you got 15 seconds until the Sky altar on the top lane starts ticking for 1V. You've got the Desert altar on the top lane as well, looking like it might actually go down to 60 GT, so they might lose that, but it's going to be close. And if they do reinforce quickly enough, they will keep it. And then Sky altar on the bottom lane is securely in 1V's grasp. So this could be a 3 altar game here very quickly, maintaining into the middle fight with 8 minutes to go here. Both teams starting to posture into the middle. 1V sending everything like they usually do. I mean, it's getting heavy in the middle already from 1V side. 60 GT is a little light.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I tapped some of these marches, right? And you can see the walk time. I mean, they're not even going to get here for like another minute or two. So,
yep.
I mean, this arc fight, I think is happening maybe a lot sooner than 60 GT was perhaps ready for.
If it does, 1V has it, 100%.
And they got to get there. I mean, they have to get there. And they have to win. It's almost like 1V is giving them an opportunity. They're like, here, come on back into the game. Take it.
Want it? You got it.
Yeah, take it. I mean, in case there was any question of like, oh,
I mean, it's just not enough.
1V got lucky or 1V did this, 1V. No, they're, I mean, it feels like 1V is like, let me just show you that we can do this consistently.
Man, this is tough. This is very tough. I mean, I think 60 GT will take their Sky Altar back on the top lane. Desert Altar still looks in favor of 60 GT, but there's an Ethelfled garrison. What I tell you at the very beginning, I expect every single forward structure to have a Jadwiga in it. Needs to have it. What's happening with these Ethelfled and Guan-led garrisons on the offensive lane? It's absolutely crazy. Oh, okay. So
Drago's losing it.
I can't believe it. We got a 5,000 point match now in favor of 1V. And this middle fight, by the way, is looking very heavily one-sided. I mean, it is looking
very blue.
It is looking like 60 GT was like, I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, it's very blue. That's like astonishingly blue.
Next match. Like, we'll get you next match.
That's, man, that, I don't like that mindset at all.
I don't think that's what they're doing. I'm just saying.
I don't think so either.
But you know, it's like,
it must be up to something else.
It's possible. 6 minutes, 20 seconds left. Blue's looking very heavy there. And if they started fighting right now, 60 GT would get sent home pretty easy.
Oh, man. What a game. If you're enjoying this game, by the way, consider throwing a like on here and subscribing. There's Mystical Formation and War Drums for 1V. Interesting. No to the death? They're just low-key bragging?
Still too early, I think. I think it's still too early.
It shouldn't pop it yet, but like, do they have the points for that still? I think that's why they... I don't understand what's happening right now, Drago.
We'll have to see.
We just popped all these abilities and we're just going to look at each other.
Yeah, I mean, those are long-lasting abilities.
They are. Oh, they are. That's very true.
Man, 60 GT pushing has been their downfall from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, I think a part of what we see here is like half of 60 GT didn't engage until 4 or 5 seconds later. And I actually think that in and of itself is pretty catastrophic.
Yep. There's Heaven's Grace for 60 GT. That's good. That helps them quite a bit.
Heaven's Grace for 1V as well. What a flex they didn't even use to the death all game.
It's not even a flex. I just think Heaven's Grace is just that much better.
Wow, you think so?
Especially with no equipment.
Oh, with no equipment, you think it's that much better, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Heaven's Grace is a raw healing factor. It's not
right.
It's not based off of equipment or anything.
You're right.
You've got damage factor coming from, or damage bonuses.
Percent damage.
Yeah, percent damage coming to you from to the death standpoint, and that stacks up even greater with equipment. To me, that's the
Really
play.
crucial pickup by 60GT. Ethelfled taking advantage, perhaps. I assume these commanders are relict of her relict march
Something like
speed
that.
there to make some moves. Not a bad carry, Drago.
Yeah, that was a good move. Now, can they take advantage of it? It's looking still very, very blue in the
Indeed.
middle. Oh, my goodness. I mean, is there going to be anybody that's red to pick it up here shortly? I see nobody going back
Oh?
that's blue. There's one person.
Somebody's got it.
Oh, man.
Keeping the dream alive.
It's another Ethelfled. There
Oh.
it goes.
GG.
3 rallies for the red team versus 2 on the blue. Just to give you a heads up as we see the sea of blue really start to come out and shine.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
That's
Just
that.
so much.
That is quite decided in the middle.
And that's not enough to stop them from capturing it. Like it's a 5,000 point match right now plus this arc.
Yeah.
It's not enough for 60 GT. This is a done deal in my opinion.
Yeah. We see that arc carrier cruising
Yep.
away.
Yep.
Double
it's
C.
Double C
It's a good carrier.
with a mostly dead Nevsky trying to do some work.
Yeah. Might,
like, I'm
just
here.
fall to the counterattacks.
Yeah,
Oh,
right
where'd
here.
it go? Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Doing
geez.
its thing.
It's getting swarmed
Jeez.
now too.
So, crazy game that we've had unfold here. I mean, we're going to watch till the very end and see the final score. We've
Yeah.
only got 3 minutes until we see that.
That's enough.
But if you have been enjoying the live stream today, subscribe to the channel. Also, a reminder, links in the description for our YouTube channels as well, where Dragothian and I make regular content about Rise of Kingdoms. Between the two of us, I mean, you can get a video every single day if you want,
Yeah,
or
hot damn
maybe
look at
2 or 3.
Yep.
Oh,
Exactly right.
wow. What
Um,
an outcome.
2
Now,
minutes, 15 seconds until this arc carrier arrives, with 2 minutes and 36 seconds until the game ends.
yeah. I mean, that impeccably timed. Honestly, the whole thing impeccably timed
Oh yeah,
by
mean,
1V.
It's almost like they planned it that way.
You know, the devil's in the details, and
Is this a mixed troop double C
1V
or
puts a
something?
lot
Like,
of time
why
and
is it
effort
so
to getting those
slow?
details right. So does 60GT. No doubt about it. I mean, to have even gotten this far, like both teams put in an immense amount of time practicing and preparing.
Oh yeah. I mean, the map's starting to turn a little bit red, but again, it's just a little too late. 2 minutes
Oh,
left.
yeah.
until
Structure
this thing.
game's a little too late for the structure
Yeah.
game, you say, Drago?
Yeah.
with 1 minute left. Yes, I agree. Way too late for structures to really make a meaningful account here
That's
for
correct.
what happens next.
Yeah.
The only thing that could happen now.
Oh, once this arc's captured, there's
No, there's
the only thing
no
that can
way,
happen now.
actually, at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
even
you'd have to
provisions.
take out this carrier and score the arc over here in 1 minute and 30
Impossible.
seconds as 60GT.
Impossible.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. Yep, that's a
Arc
10,000
scored.
point match, my friends. That's way more than I said it was going to be. How would
Yeah.
you let them capture the arc at the end? I was so on point until that happened. Last minute and a half.
I mean, I
Oh
really
my.
feel like 1V was like, I feel like we win these mid brawls every time. Let's just take the fight.
That's the most dominated I've seen 60 GT in the middle. I mean, 1V has just made a statement that they are the middle team.
They are the best mid fight team in the game.
It used to be 1V, or I'm sorry, OV. Now it's 1V.
Yeah. No, what
It is.
1V is unquestionably, at this moment, they have now proven
Oh yeah.
they are the actual best mid fight, arc fight team in the game. And they are the best team in the game. With 30 seconds remaining, will provisioning make a difference? I don't think it will. We'll see what the final score looks like. I don't think you can provision up 10,000 points here, though. I don't think that's actually in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, 60
Now-
GT made me into a liar for sure.
I mean, I'm an Auricillionaire, so I'm feeling
You
pretty
are.
good.
Yeah, you enjoy
Oh,
that
man.
statue, my friend.
I mean, hey, we talk about this in live streams on the channel. I know
That's it.
we
That's it.
plan out where people should place their bets on my channel. You do as well. Consider subscribing. Low-key plug. And here we go. The final score. The MVP from 60 GT, 199,966 points.
Wow.
And final score, 39,458 to 29,995. So a 10,500 and almost 50-point game here. Wow. I mean, this was dominated by arcs.
Oh, 100%. 10,500 points in favor of 1V to get that. And I mean, I'm looking at the total kills, 5 million more for 60 GT, but 3 million more healed for 60 GT as well. How that math does not add up. I'm not sure how exactly that works, but either 1V just making use of the troops better with more mixed marches with Ethelfleds and Hondas and things like that, versus 60 GT really just going all in on the one troop type armies. Man, that's a huge win, a huge statement win for 1V. I knew they were good, and I think we talked about this at the very beginning, how good they really were. And if there was a team that could beat 60 GT, 1V was going to be one of the three, in my opinion, that could do it. But just a convincing, dominating win. This was not fluky, I got the arc at the very end to kind of win this thing and steal it away from 60 GT. They dominated 60 GT, in my opinion, looking at what I saw.
Yeah, this is a big win for 1V. The ability to control the arcs, I think, is a real statement piece here. The team that controls the arcs, I feel, is just very much in control of what's happening in the matchup.
Yeah.
I'll observe for a moment the provision score on both sides is lower than you might expect, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's in part because there's a lot of sacrifice being made to provisioning for getting to middle, but also the lack of equipment makes a huge dent in what can actually be provisioned in a single match. So I think that's actually pretty interesting here. Drago, any final thoughts before we wrap up today's cast?
No, again, I mean, I think 1V really just put themselves on the map as, not just in the top tier of teams, but one of the top tier teams. So I think that's a solid move from them, considering where they came from. The last couple seasons, they've been favorites and came up a little bit short. But this season, not taking any prisoners and doing a fantastic job beating a prior champion in 60 GT. So very strongly done for 1V. And looking forward to casting this next week with you as well on round 2 of this grand finals.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We'll find out next week if 60 GT can make a comeback. This is best 2 out of 3. It's still anybody's game. And both of these teams are incredibly top tier in terms of their gameplay planning and ability to execute. So it would not surprise me to see 60 GT come back looking like a brand new team, a true force to be reckoned with. Both of these teams, really. So congratulations to 1V on their win. Congratulations, 60 GT, on having made it this far. And best of luck, both teams, in their preparations for next week. We'll be there to cast it. And until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies, and check the links in the description to subscribe to our channels and also subscribe to the official Rise of Kingdoms channel for more Ark of Osiris League content. Take care, everybody.